SonicLAB TV.
We're looking at the Juno GI. Now this synthesizer, in fact the whole range of recent Juno synthesizers from Roland, seems to have created an enormous amount of controversy. For some reason people are expecting a kind of affordable, real analog polysynth. Now obviously this isn't the case. The Roland's technology is traditionally taken from the top of the range stuff and brought down into the Juno range for us mere mortals. Again, it's one of those lightweight, portable, with battery power form taken along the same sort of form as the Juno DI. The keyboard is kind of light synth action, no aftertouch. Starting off at this end, we've got the Roland joystick, a couple of assignable switches, 61 key keyboard there. These two buttons here for accessing the files that you can store on the USB memory stick, which is standard MIDI files and audio files, MP3s and the like. And we've got the D-beam controller, volume, various settings for keyboard split, arpeggiator and chord memory, plus transpose buttons, menu access buttons, and then we come to all of the bank buttons. Now these break the patches up into various different types of patches because there are 1,300 sounds in here, so you do need to get hold of it. There's also something called a special live set. Rotary wheel, various navigation points here, but what we have here is an 8-track digital recorder. Now this is the big news, I guess, on the Juno DI. This is the kind of unique aspect of it, and this records digitally either from the keyboard or an audio input. You've got faders for each of the tracks, switchable groups of 4, these aren't motorized or anything. You can record from a guitar or mic level, audio input there, line, or stereo line in. There are actually all sorts of effects that you can put on this live input as well, which gives it a whole bunch of additional applications. And then finally at the end we've got the sound modifying set, which gives you cutoff and resonance, reverb depth, and then there's an EQ setting. There aren't any other parameters aside from this. Round the back we have USB, because this can also function as an audio and a MIDI interface. There's an SD card slot. This has got the cover on. You take this off to access it. Comes with a 2 GB card. This gives you up to 12 hours of track recording time. We've got an output for the song or click. A bit more on that later. Phones, stereo audio output, LCD contrast, hold and control pedals, MIDI in and out, a combi connector for mic or line, switchable phantom power, which is nice and useful, separate level there, and also a dedicated stereo line input with its own dedicated level. The sound of the grand piano there, which is as good, if not better, than the DI, and not surprisingly because there is actually double the wave ROM in this keyboard. It's got 128 megabytes as opposed to the Juno G and the DI's 64. There's also 128 note polyphony, so that should keep you going. In terms of editing the sounds, you can get in and you can pretty much do most things. You can't seem to get down to oscillator level and change the actual waves, but most of the stuff is accessible there via the quite large LCD. Now, it's not a whole heap of fun editing. Would be nice if there was an editor available. I don't think there is at the moment, but Roland often do bring one out, and it would be a great addition to this. Sounds, there's some great big lush pads. Strings. Quite a lot of acoustic sounds. Organs are worth a mention too. Some pretty good large sort of synthy contemporary sounds. The vocoder's been retained. Each patch inside the GI is something called a live set, and each live set contains up to 4 tones. Now these tones are split into upper and lower areas. You've got 2 uppers and 2 lower. You can have them layered over the entire keyboard in 4 layers, or in 2 sets of 2, or in 4 individual ones on different zones. Velocity crossfade and switching is also possible for zones. You can access them via an external door, but only on 2 MIDI channels, the upper and the lower. It's a little bit complicated, but you kind of get the idea. There's also, in each patch, 2 MFX generators with a number of routing possibilities. You can affect the upper and lower separately. There are 79 pretty good quality effects in here as well, so you get a lot of additional sculpting. There's also a 16-part multi-timbral engine inside the Juno GI. Pressing MIDI control button decouples the front panel from the live set engine and then allows you to access 16 channels via either external USB in from the door or from a MIDI input. However, there are so many sounds inside this unit that switching between onboard sounds and GM banks is a bit hard to set up. There is actually a PDF document that you can download from Roland that tells you what to set for the MSB and LSB settings. Yes, it does get that nerdy, I'm afraid. So now onto the digital recorder. I've got a song loaded up, which is one of the demo songs. We've got 8 tracks, banks of 4, plus a kind of programmable MIDI rhythm track which goes alongside it. Go into recorder view, you see we've got 8 audio tracks and there's the rhythm track there. And here there's live audio in there as well as keyboard inputs. Lots of questions about the audio recorder from you guys from the unboxing video. First of all, the maximum record time is 12 track hours per song, up to 99 songs. You can also do some basic editing, though this is a little bit clunky. It's sort of cut from here and paste to here, or copy and paste. You can't do it globally across all tracks, which is a bit of a shame really. There's also 8 virtual tracks or alternative takes per track, which you can drop in and move in and out of the arrangement. Another great feature of the digital recorder is the ability to process live inputs with effects. Here I've got a guitar amp. Now they're not bad, these are Boss-based effects and they allow you to put them across tracks or live inputs, and they could be the mic, the line, or the instrument, or the guitar input in this instance, and they're grouped effects like that, and there's quite a lot of granularity to the editing. You can also put them across the master for sort of mastering type effects, so you've got quite good compression. And it gives me the opportunity to show you what I've done here. I've also been able to import some WAV stems that I bounced from my DAW and bring them into the computer, into the GI, very easily, just import them. I've got a live drum track and a bass track. It means I can play along with my guitar. Clearly I'm not a guitarist, but you'll have to excuse me. I got really excited about this recorder when I first started to see what it could do, particularly when I saw that there was a song and click output. I was thinking, great, we can take the click from the rhythm pattern or generate it somehow, send that to a drummer, I can have my backing vocals, all sorts of tracks playing out live. What a fantastic setup. Unfortunately, the song and click out only applies to the MIDI file playback off the USB stick, which will give you a click out of that output, or you can only output the entire output of the digital recorder or the song from here. You can't set a click from the digital recorder. That's really quite disappointing, actually. I'm really hoping, and I've put in a question and a request to Roland, that they can fix this in a software update. That would be absolutely brilliant, and it would make this kind of pretty much a killer live playback unit, in my opinion. Last thing to look at is the audio stroke MIDI interface. USB into the computer, you have to install a driver, then it's simply a matter of selecting it as an audio interface. 24-bit 44.1 only, 2 channels in, 2 channels out. In the system menu, you can set the USB to record the mix input, so that'll be everything that this plays, including the DAW coming back in. You can also set it to be just the input. Here I've got it set to just a guitar going in, or I can switch to the keyboard input and just record the actual keyboard. That's with or without the insert effects as well. So quite flexible and kind of a fairly useful addition, to be honest. The GI is absolutely packed with features. Roland really have crammed a lot into this keyboard. And in some respects, that's a criticism. Just purely from the operational point of view, it can be a little bit tricky to navigate through the enormous number of menu options. As far as the sound engine goes, while I wouldn't necessarily want to use this for my key bass sounds and signature synth sounds, for everything else it's fine. It excels at polyphonic pads and that side of things. One criticism would be, would like to see, obviously, the click out for the digital recorder. That would make this absolutely awesome, as I said earlier. The price, this is another issue, I think. In the UK, £999, and in the US, $11.99. That's kind of a big chunk of change. And when you consider this doesn't have aftertouch, this keyboard, I'd say that's quite a lot of money to be spending. Unless you absolutely need every single feature that the Juno GI offers, you might be better off looking at some of the other Juno ranges. But overall, Roland have done a pretty amazing job cramming all of these features into this keyboard.